Alrighty, here we are back in Midjourney, and what I thought I would do today is just have a quick look through the prompting basics for Midjourney. And if we go to create, up at the top here is this, pardon me, up at the top here is this prompt window. And you can sort of see as you slide across here, you can either add images or text your prompt in. You can set your settings, etc. over here, change your parameters, etc. But let's walk through and see what's involved in creating a prompt. First off, I think you need to understand that the basis for all the creation in Midjourney is really reliant on prompt. And previously in sort of creative avenues for people like myself as a photographer, you would see something and then you would capture it with a camera, or you would photograph something and then retouch those pixels. I don't want to say physically, but almost physically. You would retouch those to create the image that you're after. Midjourney is a little bit different because we're creating not based on necessarily on what we see, but what we write. So the words used in the form of a prompt are really important in Midjourney. So starting off here, you can sort of see if I come back to again using this. Well, actually, no. Let's go to Explore and find out what someone else has been up to today. Okay, don't like the. As I said, I don't go for the illustrations. What's involved in this one? Okay, so here's a prompt that we'll take a look at the prompt for this devil ghoulish mask thing. Now each prompt, this one's very elaborate, so they've been very specific about what they're requesting from Midjourney. But if we break it down to its fundamental, each prompt has a subject. And the subject in this case is red and black Omni mask. So that's the subject. Much like the creation of a sentence, the subject is the foundation that Midjourney works from. Now, if I put in, let's try something really simple. If I put in cat, and that's all I put in, and I say, create me a cat, let me close this window, I'll go back to create. If I put in cat, and I'm waiting for it to create a cat, you can sort of see that it's starting here. I'm on a slow process. I don't have the greatest internet speed at home, too. So it's thinking and it's creating. But the problem with this prompt, this single word prompt that I've used for cat, there's not much to it. So I haven't really given Midjourney much instruction on what I want my cat to be, where I want it to be, pardon me, what color is the cat, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to come back with a pretty, a range of cats, probably, I'm assuming. And it won't be very specific as to what I might have had in my mind. I've just wrote cat, so I'm going to get a cat. And here, you can sort of see as these come in here, I'm ended up with a sentence without adjectives, I guess is the best way to explain this. I put in cat, I'm going to get a cat, but what kind of cat? Well, that's where the sort of sentence structure and these elaborate, as you can see down here at this one, these elaborate sort of prompts come into play. I want a cat, but what kind of cat? Here it's giving me 4 different types of cat: a white cat, a gray cat, that looks like a cat with a third eye, and a painterly looking cat. And now maybe that's what I want, and sometimes it's nice to sort of throw something at Midjourney and go, what do you think? Give me what you think. But if you want to really take control over your results, you're going to need to be a little bit more specific. So let me just change this up a little bit. Now, we said we had a subject, we had cat, but we want to add a little bit more detail to it. So we're going to say a white, fluffy cat. And what is the cat going to be doing? So we've described our cat a little bit, but we need an action for it. White, fluffy cat sitting on a windowsill. Is it C-I-L-L or S-I-L-L? Okay, well, I don't know. And then we can sort of change the parameters of it. So we'll get to the parameters later. The parameters are under here, and this is my to submit. I don't know why it doesn't say enter. They give you this little arrow. But fluffy white cat sitting on a windowsill and looking outside. Now the other thing that we can add some technical aspects to it. We can add technical aspects like, what was it shot with? And let's say shot with 85 millimeter lens with shallow focus, meaning it doesn't have much depth of field. Now when I hit the submit button, Midjourney is going to give me a little bit more of a specific response. It's going to be, the 4 variations won't be quite as random or as big as the ones I got when I just put in the word cat. They'll be a little bit more narrowed, specific to my requests. And again, those requests are subject, details, action, style, and parameters. We'll talk a little bit about the parameters later, but for now, those key things put into our sentence is what makes the prompt a little bit better. So weak prompts are only 1 or 2 words. And again, it doesn't mean you're going to get a bad result. It just means you won't get a predictable result. Notice how there's so much more continuity in these. I now have a white cat. It's kind of fluffy. It's looking out the window, and you can sort of see more or less they all have kind of a shallow depth of field. So Midjourney is creating a visual that more specifically matches my prompt, which is better than my previous prompt because I've just filled in the blanks. I've been more specific on what I want it to create. So, and you'll also notice that if I change the parameters, so I'm going to go back here. I'm going to say, well, I don't know, let me go back to, let me just show you here on the Explore pad. If I go back to, let me find, is there an image here no, that doesn't have enough. Okay, so you notice how in this is my prompt, this is my text, I have my subject, I have my description, the biochemical suit, across torso and blah, blah, blah. And this is a little bit more detailed in the action and the description of the person. Now down here, you see that I have, these tabs, these are my parameters. And if I come up to the parameter window up here, these are the different things I can change. I can make it a portrait 3x4. You can also change the parameters a little bit on that, the ratio of it. You can make it square, you can make it landscape. This tells me what version I'm running on. I can change that if I want. Raw or standard, we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but the raw one produces a slightly a better higher res image, as it were. Aesthetics, we'll talk about these a little bit later, but I can vary the aesthetics. That's a little bit of a can of worms here, but we'll talk about that because that is now telling Midjourney how to interpret your prompt. Speed, I'm on relax. You can use fast, it just means it will render quicker. But when it renders faster, depending upon your plan, you only get so many of those a month. For me, I pour myself a drink, I wait. So I'm okay with the relax mode. I'm a little bit more patient. Video resolution, if I'm outputting something, it can be standard definition or high definition, and video batch size means it can do 1, 2, or 4 batches at a time. I always leave it at 4, only because when I'm waiting, I'd rather have more variations with a slight wait. But nonetheless, let's come back to this image. So down here, it's telling us our chaos was sent to 25. Our aspect ratio is 9:16, and the HD is for high definition. And this is the profile of the person that created it. So a little bit of background on the prompting, etc. But again, if I'm going to harp on one thing here, it's that whenever you're putting in your prompt, you want to sort of order it this way. You want your subject to be first or prominent, details of the subject, like what color, is it young, is it old, is it brick, is it paper, like et cetera, et cetera. If it's a cat, is it a big cat, a small cat, a white cat, a blue cat, a fluffy cat, et cetera, et cetera. The action, what's the cat doing? Well, the cat's looking out the window. You might not have actions in things like landscape images, for instance, because a landscape's a landscape. It's not necessarily doing something, but if you have a subject, a living subject, sometimes there's an action to it. Which way is it looking? Is it talking? Is it running? Et cetera, et cetera. Then you have the style. That's where it's like, okay, is it shot with an 80mm lens? Is it shallow depth of field? You can talk a little bit about maybe the color palette you want to use. And then lastly, you put in the parameters. That's like your aspect ratio, etc. So it's important that you add all of these, when possible, to your prompting in Midjourney, and you'll get a little bit more of a predictable result and probably a little bit more of a result closer to what you had in mind.